Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest in our Talking Tim webinar series for February of 2022. My name is Kevin Vita, and I'll be helping facilitate today's webinar. This webinar is sponsored by the Federal Highway Administration and hosted by the National Operations Center of Excellence, also known as NOCO. NOCO offers a variety of resources to support the transportation systems management and operations community. On the bottom right side of your screen, you can see a box with some downloads. You can browse through these downloads for TSMO-related news and resources and these slides for today's presentation. Previous webinar recordings related to this topic can also be accessed here. Now I'll cover a few logistical items for today's webinar. We are recording this webinar, and the recording, along with the presentation slides, will be available through the on-demand learning of our website. All of the attendees are on listen-only mode by default, but we'd like you to stay engaged by using the Q&A and the discussion pod for comments and questions. We'll have a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions, we encourage you to enter them in the Q&A pod as they come to your mind. The questions will be read out loud one at a time by the moderator, and our presenters will answer each question. So that's all I have, and with that, I'll hand it over to our moderator, Jim Ostrich, to start us off.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today. On the behalf of the United States Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration, Office of Operations, TIM program, Paul Joden, Joe Tebo, myself, welcome again. We've been executing these Talking Tim webinars now for going on 2 years, I believe, and today's agenda is no less exciting. I think you'll find the presentations, the presenters very interesting. But first, again, something we always do is to Kevin Vita's from the NOCO's comments, just to reiterate, take advantage of all the resources that are available to you at the NOCO, National Operations Center of Excellence, we call it the NOCO. So with that, I'm going to move on. And first, you see today's webinar. We have three distinguished people of the National TIM program community, starting with Todd Leiss, who's with the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission, and he's going to share with us some of the public service announcements and work that they're doing in Pennsylvania, and that, quite frankly, all of us should be emulating, all states, more, aggressively marketing and public education to the motoring public, the traveler across our land. So that point I wanted to make. Next up after Todd will be my colleague Joe Tebo, retired fighter of 44 years. Joe's going to demonstrate or present on the video sharing use cases that are part of the Everyday Counts Next Generation TIM. The Next Generation TIM project that continues towards or till December of 22, and possibly a little beyond now, we understand. And last but not least, we have Josh Halterman from Iowa TOT. He's the National Program Manager, Model Program Manager for TRAX and MACH. I will not steal his thunder on that, but you'll definitely want to listen, because that information in terms of crash reports and data, Josh is going to share his knowledge and expertise with us. And then the Q&A piece that, again, Kevin alluded to, please take the time to write your questions and or comments in the Q&A pod. as we go along, and we'll do our best to field each and every one of them. So with that, I'm going to move on to the update for the training, National TIM training. Actually, this morning I got an update to this total trained. It's actually just shy of 570,000. I think it was 569,700 and some total responders trained. Huge, big deal. We're rolling, and we're definitely on that march, I like to say, to over 1 million responders trained. So keep doing everything you're doing to promote training in your states, individual jurisdictions, departments, etc. The sad part is here we are, February 23rd, and there are 10 responders struck and killed. You can see the numbers there. This is very alarming, ladies and gentlemen. It continues, and we're not sure what the answer is, but I can tell you one of the answers, I guess, or solution is that we keep training. That's for sure. I don't know if the day will ever come that, you know, the drugged and the drunk and the drowsy and distracted and just plain dangerous drivers are omitted, how should I say, prevented from driving, because that's just my opinion, how I feel. Next is the maps that I don't always show all of them, but this is the snapshot of the 512 so far trainer workshops. States are still conducting their own, or what we call state-led, that we support, or sometimes, but the majority are conducting on their own. That means picking one or two of their best trainers and establishing a date, a venue, etc., and conducting a train-the-trainer to expand their trainer bench, if you will, to be able to keep training in their state alive and well and growing. Next one is the number of trainers trained, of which you know only 23% approximately of that 13,500 are doing anything. I'm always sad to say that, but I say it anyway in hopes that some of you may actually reach out to you know, trainers that are in your state that are inactive, if you know who they are. And if they're not, get with your TIM committees and try to track them down and see if they'd be willing to get back on board, even if it's training with someone else that has been training, just so that they get refreshed. The next map is the total map with those trained in person, which in-person classes are increasing from what I hear, Paul, Joe, and I hear. But certainly the web-based training through the National Highway Institute, the training arm for the Federal Highway Administration, NHI, and or our good partners over at ResponderSafety.com, Emergency Responder Safety Institute, Responder Safety Learning Network, for a TIM certificate there that's always available, also free of charge. And the map here showing the totals by state, and this map here, which is the strategic implementation plan map. You heard last month that we've increased the goal now to 55%. You can see the key to the right, the states that are well, just shy of the 55, there's 6, but between the 55 to 64, and then above 65, you can see right there, there's 22 states. So strong growth in the training, but again, a lot more needs to be done, and you need to pull in your locals as much as possible, because if you haven't heard, for Next Gen TIM, we're focusing on the local public safety, transportation, towing communities for sure, and they're not always invited to the table. Next slide here is the bar chart, and here's the progress by state. You can see the states that are training, some very, very little and some more, and a few, about half a dozen, you know, in the 3-digit range. Here's the top 10. By the way, anything we can do, Joe, Paul, myself, to help you, please reach out. I know we know how busy you all are, but we're on a quest, and we're doing such great things. And as my colleague Joe Tebo likes to say, we're saving lives every day, whether you know it or not, or see it or not. It's true. That's truly the case. And so the March Talking Tim, exciting to let you know, we're going to have back again Linda Unruh from La Linda Consulting. Linda lost her son Bobby back, I think, in 2015. He was struck and killed. She's a veteran of the towing recovery world, and she's going to talk to us about, again, outreach, similar to like what Todd Leiss is doing. Linda's working with the Towing Recovery Association of America and AAA. He's going to share those activities. And then another great presentation on unmanned aerial systems from North Carolina, the presenter to be determined. We've seen a couple presentations on the tethered. Notice there the tethered UAS vehicles, UAVs. So join us for next month for sure. And lastly, a really interesting presentation from Scott Watkins and Craig Timon from Mobile Video Computing Solutions regarding a responder warning system that includes video analytics and a safety vest that vibrates and illuminates in time for responders to move out of the way. Yes, from what I've seen, and I've seen just a couple videos, car headed to an incident, and in a couple hundred yards, if not further away, the video analytics picks it up and warns the responders on scene to run, get out of the way. So that's next month. So join us and tell a friend. Next, okay, let's see. Kevin, it's not letting me advance.
That appears to be the last slide in this deck.
Okay, you're going to load then, right? Or you are loading as we speak. Okay, so with that, our dear friend and champion extraordinaire, Todd Leiss. Todd?
Thanks, Jim. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we're working on in Pennsylvania, what we're working on beyond Pennsylvania to try to let motorists know about responder safety. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background as we go through this, but it's an effort that we've been working on for several years now, and it's paying some dividends for us. So recently reached out to give you my background here for those that don't know me. I'm the Traffic Incident Management Coordinator for the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission. So I worked for the Turnpike for 23 years and lead our Traffic Incident Management Program. I manage the 114 fire companies, 67 ambulances, and 22 towers across the Turnpike system. I also lead the statewide Traffic Incident Management Program, Penn Time, and serve as the Assistant Director of Training for the Emergency Responder Safety Institute, or ResponderSafety.com. As you see there, my background's varied. I was a volunteer firefighter, EMT, 911 operator for a number of years, hazmat team member as well. along with my contact information. I'll give you my contact information at the end as well if anyone wants to reach out. So, public outreach, that's something that we all try to strive to do. And it's an effort that we try to do at the Turnpike as much as possible to try to tell the story to the public and get them to stop hitting our big orange dump trucks and stop hitting responders. So one of the things that we did was a paid sponsorship at the Giant Center in Hershey. These things cost money, and if you ever try to do some public outreach and try to get some of these, be able to go to any kind of big venue, a lot of times they don't want to necessarily provide that to you for free. So we paid a sponsorship in order to do this, and this cost us $13,000 a year to go and do a sponsorship. It's nice to say that if you have the money to do it, I mean, that's great, but we felt that it was worth a shot for doing it for a year. We were able to reach 500,000 people. We actually had some giveaways doing this outreach at the Hershey Bear hockey games, and we did raffles. So if you came up and talked to us, you entered. You didn't have to pay anything to enter, and we gave away stuff. So stuff you wouldn't normally see at hockey games, we gave away baseball bat, a custom baseball bat with the slow down, move over logo on. We gave away hockey sticks with slow down, move over on, and tried to do that. And the money for that came out of my wife's not on here, so I can say it came out of my pocket because I believe in trying to bring people in. We're able to work with the local responders in the area, the fire companies, PennDOT, Turnpike, local police, and state police, to come there and talk to responders and try to explain to them what the move over law is all about and try to get them out there. These are just some of the other public outreach things that we've done. I've mentioned the Giant Center, and I know that one picture's backwards there, but that was at the Giant Center, and that tow truck belongs to Dave Dutchnick Jr., who was struck and killed 29 years old on Interstate 81 in Pennsylvania. So we had his father bring down the truck, and we told that story. The photo in the upper left-hand side is a move-over video shoot we did of March 27th of last year to try to promote responders working together. So we had responders there, and we had survivors there telling their story. And then the bottom photo on the right-hand side is the move over rally that we held at the Capitol in Pennsylvania to try to do the same thing to get our new move over law passed in Pennsylvania, which we introduced in September 8th of 2020 and was signed into law October 28th. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, we also are popular on social media or try to put ourselves out on social media. So these are just some of the many sites that I know some of the people that are on this belong to some of these sites and groups and pages, just to try to tell the story of what we're trying to do out there for low cost. So that's something that we're looking at. All of us, I don't think any of us have an unlimited budget to go out there and promote responder safety and promote safe driving. So we have to do this word of mouth a lot of times. So social media helps us get that story out there. So those sites, feel free to reach out to any of those sites as well and join those groups and become part of it. The National Struck by Hero group has a lot of survivors in that group and a lot of family members of ones that have lost their loved ones on that site. So they support each other, they pick each other up, and they become friends through adversity. So they help each other out and they communicate that way. So all of us, I'm sure, out there do TIM training, and that's something that I do on a regular basis. And these are just some of the TIM classes I've done and some of the tabletop exercises I've done. And I've done TIM classes pretty much everywhere. I've done them in garages, I've done them in firehouse bays, I've done them wherever I could get, and somebody's going to listen to me. And the one thing that's nice about when I do the TIM classes is some people come back and they're repeat customers. So they come back and hear my story and teach and interact with us for these additional classes. So we go out and do that, and I'm grateful for that. The highest compliment to me is whenever somebody comes back and says, "I wanted to take your class again because it was so good and I learned so much that I wanted to hear information again, and I wanted to get updated information on what you do." So we do that. So because of that connection that I had from teaching the classes, I met this gentleman. This is John DeWeese. And if you've ever met John is a very passionate person, a very hyper person, but a good friend. And he's able to, if you meet John, you understand what I say, that if he grabs a hold of something, he's like a dog with a bone. He's going to keep moving forward with it. and he got the connection with Beasley Media in Philadelphia, and he reached out to a gentleman called Joe Bell from Beasley Media in Philadelphia and talked to them and explained the problem about responder safety. And through Joe, we got hooked up with Laura Lewis from Beasley Media in Philadelphia. And then Laura and I worked together to do some public affairs shows. So, what do these shows involve? The first one that we did, we talked about the move over law in Pennsylvania and how we could, that this new law was going to be passed, and we wanted to let people know. And these are 30-minute shows, and these are, a lot of times these shows are on real late morning, late night. They don't get a lot of coverage, but the nice thing about these shows here is they're also on, even 10:30 in the morning, 11:30, 12:30 during the day, so people actually hear them. So we've done, it's actually 4 shows so far with them. The first one was in November of 2020, but then we've done a 2-part show that was done in February of 2021. That was good. That I had Trooper Jessica Tobin and Chief Kurt Allerton for the Philadelphia Fire Department, along with John, and we talked about the anatomy of a traffic crash, what we need to have the motorists do and our customers do, and how to keep safe, and what to do if they're in a crash, how to get behind a barrier or stay in your vehicle and not walk out on the roadway. And then finally, we did another show in August of last year, and I did it with Bob Pomacala from NJ Tim, and we work very, very well with NJ Tim. They're a great partner for us at Penn Time, and we'll work with any states. I don't care if it's NJ Tim or whoever. We'll keep working with NJ Tim because they're a great, great, great partner for us. So we want to be able to tell that story as well. So that's how we got started with getting these PSAs done. So a little bit of a background. Because we've had 2 responders struck the past 4 years in Pennsylvania, we wanted to increase the penalties for the move over law. In Pennsylvania, we called our law the steer clear law. And steer clear is great, but nobody knew what steer clear meant instead of move over, because every other state called it move over or slow down, move over. So we got the penalties increased. We changed the name to move over instead of steer clear. And these are what the penalties are in Pennsylvania. It's a $500 fine for the first offense, $1,000 for the second, $2,000 for the third, and then 2 points added to the license as well. If you're going to do anything like this, I recommend you do a right to know request from your court systems too, and find out how many citations had been written prior. So I reached back to 2018, and I had a breakdown for every year, how many citations were written and what the disposition code were on those citations. And I regularly update that and share that doing my TIM training or any kind of outreach. Signed into law, that's with the senators that was the prime sponsor for this. When we had the move over rally, and a window effect April 27th of this year. So we got some traction on that. So what we did was we talked to Beasley and we said, hey, I don't have any money, and basically explained to them that these things cost money, and can you help us out? Would you be willing to record a PSA for us? And I said, by the way, our budget's $0. And they said, yeah, do you have a script? Or do you have an idea what you wanted? So what we did is, because we weren't sure what they would record for us, we actually wrote 4 scripts. And I know these are very hard to see here, but I could get you the information if anyone wants to see what these scripts say and get them to you. And we geared 2 of them focused towards the emergency responder, and then 2 of them focused on the responder. And after they did this, they actually recorded all 4 of them and sent me all 4 recordings and said, what do you think of these? And it's like, I like them. Which one are you going to use? Well, we're going to use all of them. And then because of our relationship with NJ Tim, we said, well, so we referred everybody to our penntime.org, our Turnpike, or I'm sorry, our Pennsylvania Traffic Incident Management website. And we wanted to also, because some of the people listening to this were going to be in New Jersey, we wanted to refer them to NJ Tim as well. So I talked to Laura, and she said, okay, yeah, that's no problem. Let's re-record the ending, and that didn't take much for them to do, and they did that, and they edited, and so they're still playing these recordings for us in both on 15 stations in the Philadelphia, New Jersey market.
Here's an important message for everyone who drives a motor vehicle. Every day, an average of 2 emergency responders are struck by vehicles while working on the road. Some don't survive. Others are critically injured and can no longer perform their life-saving jobs. In 2019, 44 emergency responders were struck and killed while working to help others on the road. Sadly, it looks like that number will be even higher in 2020. Firefighters, police officers, paramedics, tow truck operators, and every responder needs your help, and they need it now. Do your part to keep everyone safe on the road. When you see flashing lights of any color on the road ahead of you, slow down, move over, and give them room to work. It's the law in Pennsylvania. Police are cracking down and penalties for violators are on the rise. This message is brought to you by PennTime and the Beasley Media Group. Learn more about Pennsylvania traffic incident management at penntime.com.
So I'm not sure if any of you were able to hear that, or hopefully you were. You could also download that in the download link as well. And again, it's something that they were able to create for us, and we were able to write the script fairly quickly for them and give that to them and record it. But for us, it paid huge dividends. We've seen the traffic to our website increase, and we're able to share that message out there and try to get that message. And maybe the thing we have to understand is we don't necessarily have to reach every motorist out on the roadway. Even if we reach one, that maybe one more responder that's not struck and injured, struck and killed. Yes, we want to reach them all, but we want to make sure that we're at least reaching some of the customers out there and some of the motorists. So because of that relationship, and Beasley, we talk, and I talk regularly to Laura Lewis, again, our counterpart down there in Philadelphia, and we're talking about some other shows to record. We're able to get them to do something that they call the Beasley Community of Caring. And Laura called me up and said, hey, I could get that message out there on 62 radio stations in 9 states in 15 different markets. Are you interested in that? And we decided, yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that we did. So these are the states and the cities that currently Beasley has stations in. So 62 radio stations, 9 states, 15 markets. So between what they have for their listeners and then also on their digital media, their website, social media, they reach about 20 million consumers each week with a message. So what this did is it started in January of 2017. These messages will continue for 12 weeks. The PSAs are going to continue beyond those 12 weeks. But we wanted to make sure that we get that message out there. So each week then I give Beasley, my contact with Beasley, information. These are just some of the ones that they've shared in the past where just safety tips. And just something to get the public to understand what as responders and what as motorists they're facing every day out there. So we've done that. So again, new PSAs on all radio stations that's going to continue beyond the end of March 30th. But then these every Monday, actually, my contact from Beasley just emailed me and said, hey, do you have an article for next week that you want to write something quick? And I do have something that I'm going to work on. But if there's something that you think that we should share from a national level, send it to me. If it's a link I could put in that article, let me know and shoot that to me so we could share that message and get that out. I think the article that I want to do this week is about staying in your car if you're involved in an accident or moving the car off the road and trying to make sure you're safe. How many times do we have pedestrians and people getting struck when they get out of their car at roadway incidents wandering around? So we want to try to make sure we get those messages out there, as well as the D-driver message and the move over message. Again, where do we refer the callers or the listeners to? One of the places we refer them to is respondersafety.com because it's a national website and they have some good information there. So we referred them to some of the videos. But we also looked at beyond that, undistracteddriving.org. If you haven't heard of that website, please check it out. They have some great information there. The NHTSA website and trafficsafety.com website works as well, in the National Safety Council website. So, we want to make sure that we're getting this message out there and also sharing it across all our social media platforms as well. So I took up a lot of time. I appreciate it. Please put any kind of questions or comments in the chat box, and there's my contact information, and thank you.
Okay, Todd. Well, we thank you, sir. So much there, and just as I said earlier, there needs to be a lot more of this, and I think we're going to see it. This is the second year really where I've seen a lot more activity on the public education and outreach side for traffic incident management and what you all do to save lives. And so just amazing work. Kudos to you, Todd, and all of the Pennsylvania TIM community team. So with that, next up is our dear colleague, Paul and I's colleague, Joe Tebo, that by now most of you know. Joe comes to us from the fire community, over 44 years as a volunteer firefighter, and just has a long history of safety, working for Federal Transit Administration as well. And we're so lucky to have Joe on our team, and he's going to take it from here. Joe?
Thank you, Jim. I'll give you that $20 later. Thanks for that intro. I appreciate it. Greetings.
I thought it was 100.
Well, you know what? It's inflation, right? Yeah. To that great Tim Nation out there, both the veterans and the new recruits, welcome and thanks for all you do in advance. My intent here is to give you what, but first I got to give you who and why. And we're going to talk a little bit about the video sharing workshop that was conducted 2 weeks ago, I believe. And so the background on the video sharing and other technologies comes from EDC 6, or Everyday Counts 6. That's an initiative that adopts different technologies and processes and then pushes them forward through the year. So for next generation traffic incident management, our in-house team for Federal Highway is, of course, Paul Joden and Jim Ostrich, you just heard from, myself. Our contract team is exquisite. Katie Belmore, who is everything Tim. Many of you, if not all of you, know Katie. Dr. Grady Carrick, another wealth of knowledge from engineering enforcement. James Witherspoon, who helps to try to keep us straight, along with Josie Gray, who does the same. And they all do a fantastic job, let me say. So the Everyday Counts initiative, right? State-based model, and it looks at underutilized innovations, right? And a couple of little line items there for shortening the project delivery process and to enhance roadway safety, which it's all about safety, and reduce traffic congestion and integrate the automation. But what we know is that, traffic incident management, Tim saves lives, and we also know that we are in a mode, if you would, of chasing technology. And we know that there's some incredible technology out there. It's moving at the speed of light, and we're trying to keep up with it. And we're not too far behind it. But, it's like buying that new iPhone. By the time you walk out of the store, there's a new iPhone in the market. So, we're always playing that catch-up game. But we're looking at a couple of initiatives, and a lot of the states are just like so advanced. It's amazing to listen to some of their progress. And working with the state and local and private partners, right? We're looking at all roadways now, not just the highways and the expressways. We're looking to bring it down onto the arterials and local community to utilize TIM. Why? Because it works. And why is it happening? It's because it's becoming the norm for responders. They're comfortable with it. They know what to do with it. So that's almost an easy transition. But we're also, looking at the technology, the data, and the different training strategies are out there through EDC 6. So here are our focus areas. All right, I talked about local roads. We want to get it out into the local roads, and we're succeeding. The responder training portion of it, looking at the current traffic incident management training, revitalizing that, adding tech lessons and modules to that. So, that's proceeding. And then using TIM data. And, if you're like me, data isn't that exciting. But it tells a great story, and it can help us in tremendous ways. So the video sharing portion, falls under this next category, which is the technology. Technology that's proven, but underutilized. The video sharing portion. Here's the map showing that there's 40 participating states in EDC 6, and those are states who have submitted their documentation to say, hey, yeah, we're looking to advance into a different level or a different mode. And 19 of those, have video sharing as a focus area. So, it's that emerging innovation, that new technology, and the amazing ways that many agencies and departments are using their video as they progress, as they move forward with it. So for that particular video sharing workshop, we had 32 participants, 13 states. These were our speakers, and they were absolutely dynamic. John McClellan, Minnesota, Nicole Forrest from Florida, Ed Cox and John McGregor from Indiana, and Jason DeSummery from Maryland DOT. And we had one heck of a discussion and Q&A session, and there were so many different topics and processes that were discussed that it was tough to just pick a couple of highlights from that workshop. But we collectively decided we'd just grab a couple. And one of those that you should be seeing on the screen here for video sharing, on the left side you see responder vehicle to TMC system, to the Traffic Management Center. And in that upper left-hand corner, you see a little yellow square, which is the actual video camera that's mounted on one of Maryland Department of Transportation's safety service patrols, which they refer to as chart vehicles. And it's a pan, zoom, tilt camera, mounted as high as it can be for that particular type of vehicle. And it can be controlled by the TMC, the folks there. So the operator can go on about their standard duties of establishing a safe travel zone, a safe TIM area, and then anyone back at the TMC, if they need to see upstream, if they need to see downstream, if they just want to take a look at the incident. But they can also use it on the scene when at the TMC, when that operator sees 100 feet of guardrail torn up. Well, they can immediately forward the maintenance and repair request for that. So it's not just the traffic incident management, but it's also the other things that they can see back at the TMC. Now at the TMC, right, they can also monitor their other cameras or maybe surrounding that area, just off of that expressway or ramp area. They can look at the detours that have been set up and start checking those intersections for congestion. They can establish traffic light timing to ease the congestion. They can also relay information back to units that are still en route to say, Unit 2, avoid the intersection of walk and don't walk, because right now it's a parking lot. There's no one moving anywhere. It's totally jammed. So the information exchange is taking place, and this is, in-house stuff, right? From Safety Service Patrol to TMC out to others. But they've also established some public video sharing, right? Where they just live stream their cameras out to the citizenry, and anyone can just log on and check their cameras, and it's look before you go kind of thing if you're planning on taking a trip, or if you hear about a crash somewhere, you can take a quick look. Any citizen can take a quick look and see if their route of travel has been affected. So it's becoming very, very unique and creative with the use of video sharing, TMC to safety service patrols. Now, I throw this particular slide up here because there's an absolute nexus between unmanned aerial systems and video sharing, right? We wouldn't be launching a UAS unless we were capturing video, right? So, now that video is being shared, right? And the different types of drones that are being utilized. I mean, yesterday we had the advanced UAS workshop and learning about free-flying drones. Now, the vehicle on the right that you see actually belongs, it's brand new to Delaware DOT. They acquired it from another state agency who was about ready to give 3 of them away. And they said, oh, hey, can we have one of those? And sure enough, they got it. So it cost them $0 to obtain this particular vehicle just by being creative. And they're going to convert this vehicle that you're looking at into a UAS. And it's going to have It's going to have monitors throughout the vehicle on 3 sides. You can fly 3 drones at one time, 3 individual operators. It's just going to be loaded as a UAS command center. But the important part of this is that the drone footage is being sent back, and it's being sent back to TMCs. It's being sent back to 911 centers, and they're sharing what they see from the eye in the sky. So don't discount UAS when you talk about video sharing, because they're like first cousins. Now, another unique way, you know, kind of hit me at home. I was like, hey, you know, we have, as Jim mentioned, I'm 45 years in volunteer fire service right here in Baltimore County, Maryland. And once the Maryland Department of Transportation created their live feed for their cameras, we were like, well, hey, we ought to be able to jump on that. So we did, and what we did with it is we started mounting some monitors throughout our station with the different screens. Now, we have 9 different interstates that we respond first due to, I-95, 695, 70, 895, 195, a ton of them that we're first due. And we're also a heavy rescue company, double engine company, 2 medic units. So a very busy company, less than 30 seconds outside of Baltimore City, volunteer company. So we started popping these different camera views of our first due up into these monitors. And we have several of them out in the engine room. We also have them in the watch room, TV room, upstairs in the gym, and in the bunk room. So wherever you are, if a call gets popped out for a crash on an expressway, and you know, we can touch screen that and bring that right up and take a look at it. Another monitor in the engine room there, and you know, we got a little creative with it. We put, you know, a little bit of more information up there and just monitor what we want to see at that particular time. But we also know and understand that what I'm talking about here for my particular department and other departments like me that are doing this is that, you know, that's a luxury. We take it for granted. But when you go out into the rural communities and out into the remote communities even, you know, there's not a whole lot of stationary video that you can capture and bring in. But that's the pursuit of the technology, and that's what I was talking about, you know, chasing that technology. So what can it do for you? You know, in our particular case, I'll bring this one, right? This particular slide here. So, you know, I put the little comment up there that, you know, from our station we could see this column of smoke, but that's all we could see, right? So, right, you get a thimble's full of information, especially when you're dispatched to a motor vehicle crash, 695 and I-95. That's what you get on the air. But when you can walk over to your monitor in the engine room or the watch room and pop that up, and this is a capture from a stationary camera, tells a whole lot more of that story. So it's priceless, right? You know before you go, and it solves a lot of the issues that many departments, whether it's law enforcement or fire, EMS, rescue, even safety service patrols, you know, it saves a lot of time. And what you can do with this by a quick glance is confirm that location that you were just dispatched to. Because I can tell you, more than not, where we're told it is, it isn't, right? You know, the Baltimore Beltway, which is I-695, is classified as the inner loop or the outer loop. So when you have someone who's totally unfamiliar with the area or even that terminology, but they're the 911 caller, oftentimes units are dispatched to the wrong side of the expressway, or maybe not even the right expressway. And we have that in our territory here, because this interchange here of I-95 and I-695, you see on the screen where it says Southwest, because there's also a I-95, I-695 interchange in the Northeast corner of the state, which we don't respond to unless there's something really, really, really bad going on. So, you know, you can see that, you know, just at a quick glance, you can look at this, or those familiar with it, and go, oh, yeah, that's on the inner loop, and yeah, we got fire. So, yeah, we got fire. What else do we have? Is there hazardous materials in this trailer? Well, you know, this particular shot isn't going to tell you a whole lot of that. But if that was a tanker truck, you know, I'd take that into consideration, right? And you can also say, yeah, we're going to need a little bit more than one engine company because there's no water sources there. We're going to need 2 or 3. And it just gives you that better understanding and preparation amongst all the other things that responders have to deal with while en route to a particular call. So once units arrived there, this is what was encountered, right? From the previous slide, you look there, there's no indication that there's a vehicle with entrapment, none whatsoever. And even some of the callers were saying, yeah, there's a car on fire, but wasn't a whole lot of information about the cars under the tractor trailer. Now, the tractor trailer, upon arrival, was occupied ×2, I might add, non-fatal. The bulk of that fire you see is the actual tractor of the tractor trailer and one of the saddle tanks. And it did eventually spread to the vehicle, but under the trailer extrication was performed, and quite frankly, the 2 occupants were injured, but not life-threatening injuries. But a ton of resources were requested en route because you got visible fire, tractor trailer, unknown contents. You know, you can always send them home if you don't need them, but if you need them and don't have them, that's not a good feeling, as I know a lot of you folks can relate to that. So there's our standard disclaimer for U.S. government. We don't endorse anything, although I don't think I actually showed any particular products there. And, you know, the team, as Jim said earlier, if you've got information you'd like to share, or questions, or you've encountered a hurdle along the way, ring one of us up, because we can either answer that for you directly, or more often than not point you to someone who can, right? Someone who's already encountered that hurdle but have cleared it. So, you know, there's a ton of help out there. I mean, it's just amazing. So please, you know, use this as a resource. If you're able to tap into your local video, if you have such an animal, you know, do it. You know, it tells a great story. You know, the old saying of a picture says 100 words, 1,000 words, but video, live stream, it tells you a whole lot more. So, you know, we learned a lot from that workshop. We'll have others, no doubt. And keep doing what you all are doing, because as we've said before, you know, traffic incident management, TIM, unified command, training, it all saves lives. It saves lives every single day. So I want to thank you all for everything you do, and I'll pass it on back over to Jim, or would you like me to bring in the next speaker?
Bring them in, Joe.
Okie dokie. Can do, if my computer cooperates. Yeah, our next speaker, Josh Halterman, has been with the Iowa Traffic and Criminal Software, the TRACS program manager and national program manager for the last 7 years. Josh started out his career as a police officer in Iowa, gravitated towards computer systems that were used by law enforcement. It includes computer forensics, network maintenance, and of course, TRACS. Using knowledge obtained during his 13-year law enforcement career, Josh came to work for the TRACS program in Iowa as a support representative for 8 years before becoming the program manager. So with all that said, my listening ears are on. Josh, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Certainly can.
Excellent. So we're gonna talk a little bit about the national model and the software applications that are underneath the national model, which is TRACS and MACH. And we're going to talk about how they're used here in Iowa and other states. So we'll go ahead and get started. So first off, what is the national model? The national model it's the national model for statewide application of data collection and management technology to improve highway safety, led and managed by the Iowa DOT since 2001. It is currently a consortium of 14 states and the province of Manitoba that utilize the TRACS and MACH software to enable local, state, and federal public and safety entities to share information. We're going to talk about both of those pieces of software and how they're used. The national model also uses a shared common software that allows for the establishment of best practices as well as enterprise level software for a minimum cost. Because we are the Iowa Department of Transportation and there is support costs that go along with providing these software applications, there is a license fee, and the good news is we are not out to make $1 on this. We turn every bit of those license fees back into support, maintenance, and continued development of the two pieces of software. So who is the national model? These are our current national model member states. Tomorrow we actually have our our first National Model Steering Committee meeting of the year. We always hold those in February and August. And it's basically an opportunity for all of our member states to get together and provide us feedback on what states would like to see developed next. What's the new, latest, greatest piece of technology, functionality that we need to add into the applications. So you'll see the orange icons on the map here. Those are states that are using both TRAX and MACH. And then our red states are the ones that are just utilizing the TRAX application. Okay. So what is TRAX? TRAX stands for Traffic and Criminal Software. It is a public safety software that provides a total data collections and now records management solution for public safety entities of all sizes, including statewide implementations. TRAX is being used by thousands of public safety agencies and by tens of thousands of law enforcement agencies and other public safety professionals throughout North America to perform many critical functions of their daily jobs, including crash reporting, e-ticketing, and commercial vehicle inspection. Many of our states, again, are represented here in this call. We see TRAX being used for just about anything public safety. Crash reporting being probably the most important one. Most of our states start off with crash reporting, and they realize the benefits of having things that are built specific to their state, forms that are built specific to their state, all in one application. The great thing about when we license TRAX to a state, it is a true statewide license. That state can take TRAX and they can develop as many forms that they want within the application. Crash reporting, citations, commercial vehicle inspections, incident reports, use of force forms, you name it. If it's currently a piece of law enforcement paperwork, you can develop that within the TRAX application. The other nice thing about it is again, a true statewide application. There are no limitations on the number of users. There are no limitations on the number of installations that you can put out there for law enforcement and public safety to use. Okay. Within the TRAX application, again, we have many different forms, incident reports, citations, crashes. If it's currently a PDF Word document or a piece of paper, it can be built as a form within TRAX. We use data bars for ease of data entry. That's really important for the TIM community. How simple can we make TRAX? How easily can we get the data entered? Because easy means time saving. Time saving means we get the first responders off the road and out of harm's way as quickly as we possibly can. We do have peripheral interfaces, so again, we can use barcode scanners, signature tablets to, again, more quickly capture data. Those barcode scanners can be used to scan barcodes on the back of driver's licenses, registrations, commercial vehicle cab cards, and all of that data immediately imported into your form, whether it be a crash or a citation. Once that data is within TRAX, we have the ability to then transfer that data from your crash report and be able to reuse that on the citation or your warning or your commercial vehicle inspection form. Again, speeding up the process of creating that next form, creating that next piece of paperwork that I need to do my job and get out of that roadway as quickly as possible. We do have a lot of validations and process flow rules that can be built within TRAX. In Iowa, we actually have validation rules that disable great pieces of certain reports when they're not needed to be collected. A great example of that is a car deer accident. There are big portions of our crash report that we don't want to have filled in, so we actually gray those out and prevent the officer from having to fill them in on the roadside to complete a crash report. Again, saving that time and getting them off of that incident more quickly. We do have diagramming tools. We do interface with other diagramming tools out there. Many of the commercially available diagram tools we interface with, so I'm sure some that some of our states are using today. Okay. And then for data analysis purposes, we do have a geolocation tool. We call it the TRAX location tool. It allows us to apply X and Y coordinates to our forms for data analysis down the road. We can actually go back and create pin maps of where we're writing our citations. And then we can compare that to a pin map of where we're seeing our high crash corridors. And then maybe use some of that data to redirect our enforcement activities out of the maybe a high citation area and into an area where there is a high crash probability. And then TRAX also has the ability to do all sorts of data transmission. We transmit citations to courts. We transmit crash data to DOT. We transmit crash data to NHTSA here in the state of Iowa. We currently, out of our states, we have not been able to meet any of the data transmission requirements of any of our member states. TRAX, again, is a full records management system with case management capabilities, master indexes with flags, the ability to actually search a name or a vehicle and go back and see the history within our TRAX database of how often we've dealt with a particular individual or a particular vehicle. We can then go back and actually see the involvement from one vehicle to a person, from that person to maybe another vehicle, and from that vehicle maybe onto a group of other folks. So it's a great investigative tool as well. And then again, particularly important for this group is the ability to go back and examine the data and again, kind of do some data-directed enforcement activities based off of what we've collected within TRAX. Okay. Now this is really important because this is what allows us to actually completely customize the TRAX application per state. We like to say that we don't want you to have to change your business practices for the application. We want the application to be modified to match your business practices. So we actually provide a software development kit. The software development kit is what allows TRAX to be completely customized by your state or agency. So the Florida crash report looks nothing like the Iowa crash report. The crash report in Arizona is very different than the crash report in Iowa. So we allow that customization for each state. We also include a forms builder. That's what allows that customization. Rules builder allows you to build all of your validation rules in the background. Very important. One of the things that we've most recently added to our crash report here in Iowa is TIM data, and actually how long was a lane closed? How long was first responders along the roadside? We have all of that data that's now been added to our crash report, utilizing this software development kit. And again, we do have a analysis report builder as well. So I've thrown a screenshot up here. This is what TRAX looks like. I believe we can do a pointer here. So right here at the top of the screen, this is where we actually do all of our data entry. You can see that this particular data field is a yes, no. Down here on the, just below that in the form viewer, we have the ability to, again, disable fields. These are our validation rules at work. So basically, if this is not a work-related crash, all of these fields are going to remain disabled, and we do not have to force the officer to fill these out. Just below that, you will also see our TIM fields, basically dates, times, and then total roadway clearance time and total incident clearance time. So that, again, we can start examining that data in the state as well. Moving on to our next screenshot here, this is an example of how we can utilize interfaces to other systems to pull data in rather than having to manually key data into the report. This is an NCIC query or an NLETS query that I ran that actually returned the data back into the form. I don't have to worry about fat fingering my keyboard and mistyping a VIN number in there. Great for when the subjects can't either find their driver's license, they can't find their registration card. We can actually reach out to other systems and pull data into the report, again, saving time, making our reports more accurate and timely as well. Okay. So that's the TRAX application in a real quick nutshell. The other application that's available through the national model is a software that we call MACH. MACH stands for Mobile Architecture for Communications Handling. It is basically a central communications hub that has CAD, automatic vehicle location, mobile dispatching, user-to-user messaging, cross-agency collaboration for first responders, in-car mapping, and display of other public safety units nearby. We have actually built interfaces to our statewide switch so that we can pull NCIC driver's license and registration queries back into the TRAX form as well. So we've integrated the two applications so that they can talk to one another. MACH is currently being used in 5 state implementations, allowing for unprecedented cooperation between public safety agencies. And I'll have some screenshots of how we use it here in Iowa. It's just an amazing officer safety tool, and an amazing way to share data, and an amazing way to actually work with one another during an operation. So what is MACH? It is the AVL, or automatic vehicle location and mapping. Basically anywhere where MACH is installed, whether it be in the vehicle, in the station, at the communications center, or the traffic management center, they can actually see the current locations of law enforcement statewide. It is also a full enterprise level CAD module. Most recently here in Iowa, we have developed an interface so that we are actually sending CAD information to our traffic management center automatically. That data shows up on a dashboard for our TMC operators so that they can verify calls and use that data to start their processes within the traffic management center. We've actually just started using that within the last month. And the initial feedback is it's a great way to lessen the manual communications between the traffic management center and our state radio. So it's saving a lot of time in that arena as well. MACH is also a messaging service. We can do car-to-car, basically instant messages. We can do chats. We can do incident and alert broadcasts. Again, a great information sharing tool for law enforcement in the state. And then I did mention the state switch interface. That's that ability to run NCIC queries, NCIC inlets, hot files, and actually pull back DL photos to the car as well for identification purposes. We have developed, again, MACH interfaces to communicate with external systems. We currently pull in all of our snowplow locations and provide that as a map layer within MACH. We have interfaces to our 511 system, our traffic cameras, so that we can view traffic cameras live feeds right within the MACH application, automatically generating case numbers for the CAD, and then the ability to send out automated emails as well. And one of our next iterations of MACH, which is actually due out later this week, we will have the ability to interface with ArcGIS Online and provide a greatly enhanced mapping capability, and being able to plug in to all of the wonderful data that is available within Esri's online databases. As I mentioned before, it does interface seamlessly with TRAX, so that when we run an NCIC query or a driver's license query, we can pull that data right back into TRAX to complete the citation or the crash report form. We do have mobile device versions of MACH for the iPad, iPhone, and Android devices as well. Okay, so this is a screenshot of MACH. Every one of these blue icons that you see on the map is a law enforcement vehicle that was out there and live. We currently update our GIS locations for law enforcement every 28 seconds. So this is maintained and updated on a really regular basis as far as location of our officers. This is our CAD screen. This is basically what the call for service list looks like. I had to blur out a couple of personal information items there, but this is basically what the call for service list would look like. We can open up any one of these calls for service and get all of the information about that particular call for service. This is the information that is then being fed to our traffic management center so that they can initiate their steps that they take. This is a quick screenshot of our NCIC and what it would look like being able to run person, vehicle, prism checks, gun checks, articles, fuel tax for our commercial vehicle folks. And again, allowing that operator on the roadside to be able to run that, view the data, view the driver's license photos, and then populate that into any law enforcement forms that they have within the TRAX application. Okay. This is, again, another screenshot of what the return would look like within MACH. This is one of our test records, and it shows the registration that was actually populated into my crash report earlier on the TRAX side. Okay. So quick rundown of some of the numbers from some of our member states. In Iowa, we currently have 387 TRAX agencies that are completing 99.7% of all of our crash reports electronically through TRAX. Those crash reports are then transmitted electronically to the Department of Transportation for processing. In the state, we currently create 92% of all the citations in the state and transmit those electronically to our court system. We currently maintain a form package of 25 different forms. Again, anything from crash citation, incident reports, towing and impound reports, jail booking reports, you name it, we've developed a form for it, at least the most greatly used forms within the state. On the MACH side, we currently have 369 agencies. We have built 13,480 users and installed MACH on 4,759 machines within the state. So we've got a very, very wide adoption of both TRAX and MACH in the state of Iowa. The state of Florida, they currently support 195 agencies on TRAX. They do not use MACH currently in the state of Florida. There's a push to get MACH available to some of the local agencies, but as of right now, they do not utilize MACH. In the last federal fiscal quarter, quarter one, through TRAX, they submitted just under 64,000 crash reports. That amounts to about 37, just over 37 and a third of the total statewide crash reports, with a load rate of 99.99%. So those validation rules make the data that they're collecting very accurate. Okay. Next up in Florida, they are actually bringing up Orlando PD, Fort Lauderdale PD, and agencies within St. Lucie County. They are in process as well. State of New York, and very impressive numbers in the state of New York with their use of TRAX. Again, they do not currently use MACH, but they have 520 TRAX agencies. In 2021, they did just over 1.9 million citations in TRAX. It looks like 2018 and 2019 have been their high years for citation submission, with just over 2.4 million citations being done in TRAX in the state of New York. So 2021, just under 326,000 crash reports were completed in TRAX and submitted to central repositories. A couple more states here. North Dakota, 100% TRAX crash reporting. They currently support 121 agencies with over 2,700 active users. And the state of Wisconsin, another great partner for us, is they're currently supporting 552 TRAX agencies, 100% crash reporting through TRAX, with 99% of their citations being completed in TRAX as well. They currently support a package of 23 TRAX forms. They're another state that utilizes MACH. They currently have 188 agencies with 4,900, just under 5,000 users, and just over 3,700 installed machines. So great uses of both of those applications. Really impressed with the willingness of these states to come out and license a piece of software and share that software statewide, really trying to get everybody on the same page, everybody using the same form, everybody using the same application, and being able to collaborate and work with one another. And that's really what the national model is about, is that shared collaboration and shared source software. That's what I have. I appreciate everybody listening, and I think we'll turn it back over. We turn it back over to Jim, or?
Well, this is Joe. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Hey, Josh, while you're there, there's a question for you in the chat pod, and I'm going to bring it to your attention. The question is, does TRAX have any priority on case management for new entrants? And that is vehicles registered for less than 12 months. Are they in the system?
I would have to follow up with our commercial vehicle enforcement to be able to answer that, as I'm just really providing the application to law enforcement. Those day-to-day business practices, I would have to follow up with them on that.
Outstanding. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll also mention that there are fact sheets. There's a EDC6 fact sheet for video sharing there in the pod that you can download. There's one for CAD and local roads, and a couple of others there that I'm sure you can tap into, use as a refresher or to push yourself forward. And at that point, we seeing any additional questions? I don't think I am. Jim, are you back online? Okay, not hearing from Jim. He must have got bumped, possibly. That wraps up our speaker list. And, yep, not seeing any more questions in the pod. Feel free to pop one in there if you would. Just a reminder, next month's Talking Tim, going to be another awesome session. And I think you'll really enjoy it, and it'll almost tag on a little bit to the video sharing portion, because you'll hear a little bit more about the unmanned aerial systems. And as always, we thank all of you for everything you all do. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. I want to thank the speakers. Todd, as always, do a great job. Josh, well done. And you folks, you keep your heads on a swivel and keep saving lives out there. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks, everybody.